before you approach the victim. Then take the victim near to running water.
Running water?
Tap water.
For both burns and scalds?
Yeah, for burns and scalds.
Okay.
But now for this case, the water need not to be very hot or not very cold.
So
you just
lukewarm?
need lukewarm water. Then you run through the burnt area for around 15 to 20 minutes, after which you're going to cover the area with a clean piece of cloth. The essence of covering the area is to prevent air from circulating around the area, because the more it circulates, the burn becomes more painful. Yeah, so then you want to cover it nicely, then transfer the victim to the hospital.
To the hospital.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to scalds, do you do the same thing? Because you know what happens?
For scalds, you need to do the same thing, but usually there is accumulation of a fluid.
Yes.
So you don't need to prick the area to
don't prick the area,
because it becomes more painful, and there is a high risk that infection will set in.
Okay. Yeah. We've seen scenarios. I mean, when we watch TV, you've seen scenarios of people being covered in blankets and being asked to roll on the ground. When then does that apply?
For this case is in the case of a fire. Maybe the house has caught fire.
Okay.
So you want to cover the victim with a blanket to prevent the fire from spreading. Yeah, when you talk of fire, usually there is what we call the fire triangle. And one of the aspects of the triangle is that there is presence of oxygen. So what you want to do, you want to cut off the oxygen to prevent the combustion from going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's now head over to nose bleeding. Another mishap that occurs at home. And before we find out how to treat it, what could you say is the main trigger of a nosebleed?
Okay, when you talk of nose bleeding, it's basically bleeding from the nose. And this bleeding occurs because there is rupture of the blood vessels. Key factor in this case is the capillaries. They are very tiny blood vessels which connect the veins and the arteries. So when there is a connection, especially at the tip of the nose, they are very tiny. And so when there is a lot of pressure, they cannot be able to withstand the pressure. So they end up rupturing. There are a number of factors which cause the same. One of it is maybe if there is direct pressure to the nose. If somebody is hit, a direct blow to the nose, it can cause nose bleeding. When there is a forceful blowing of the nose, they end up rupturing. In our victims with high blood pressure, so blood is moving at a very high pressure, so what happens? It looks for an area where it can exert out its pressure. So the most common area is in the nose, so they end up rupturing. And also in some cases, if you are working in a very hot environment, so the blood vessels, they end up dilating, and when they dilate, usually they are exposed to the environment, so there is also a high risk of them rupturing.
Yes.
So the key management to this is what we call direct application of pressure. So this direct application of pressure is going to enhance the clotting process.
Sorry?
The clotting process.
Yes.
That is the blood molecules, especially what we call the platelets, are going to meet and then form what we call a plug or a mesh. Sometimes you can call it a net, which is formed to prevent further blood from flowing.
There are those who say sit facing down and pinch your nose. There are others who say sit facing up, pinch your nose.
The recommended posture to sit is when you're facing forward and then you're pinching what we call the bridge of the nose.
The bridge of the nose?
The bridge of the nose.
So no looking up, no looking down, just
look in this position, then have the victim spread his legs, then you pinch the nose. You see, when you pinch the nose, the victim will not be able to breathe.
Yes.
But the good thing is that we breathe through the nose and the mouth.
The mouth.
So when you block the nose, the victim is going to breathe through the what?
The mouth.
And then there is high likelihood that some blood is going to flow through the mouth. So you tell the victim to spit. You'll be able to spit through the mouth. Then you hold it for 15 to 20 minutes. And then because now blood is flowing at a very fast speed,
yes,
you need to do what we call a cold compress. Get a clean piece of cloth, put it in cold water, and then apply it on the forehead to reduce the speed of the blood.
That is after
at least application of pressure. So this one should go, if possible, simultaneously. Application of pressure, let the victim do it, while the rescuer, or the one who is coming to assist, gets a clean piece of cloth and then place on the forehead.
Okay. Yeah. Someone asks, what's the connection between nose bleeding and a cold? What could be the connection?
The connection is that when somebody is having a cold, there's an allergic reaction. So this victim is likely to be trying to blow out the nose to get rid of the blocked nostrils. So, and as I said earlier, the forceful blowing of the nose exposes the tiny blood vessels at the tip of the nose to easily rupture. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to something else that we experienced. We've seen in Compass. We had someone who was epileptic.
Yeah.
And we've seen people get epileptic fits. How exactly are you supposed to handle an epileptic person once they get their fit?
The first thing which we need to understand is what causes this epilepsy.
Yes.
In our body systems, we have a system we call the nervous system. The nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord, and it's like the control system, the one which acts like our remote of the body. Sometimes you find that there's abnormal discharge of messages. So this abnormal discharge of messages is the one which causes now the body to be kind of epileptic. Muscles need to get information from the brain, so then excessively contract. So in this process is when we have somebody with epilepsy. And usually, in most cases, it takes 2 to 3 minutes before it subsides. So the easiest way to do is ensure that the victim is safe and you as the rescuer you are safe. Then what you're going to do is help the victim to the ground, then enable him to lie down, and of course he's going to jerk, so let him continue jerking, but ensure that he's safe, and then after 2 to 3 minutes he's going to be safe.
There are those who say place some metal.
The meat, we have those meats that you place something on the mouth, it's very risky, because now when you do like this, you're increasing the chance of him going to bite the thumb. So you want to avoid that.
Okay.
So let the fit subside within 2 to 3 minutes, and then transfer him to the hospital. But there is one thing, most of the time when somebody is having a fit, most likely the body muscles are becoming loose, and then the sphincters are opening. So he might wet himself or even pass stool on himself. So you want to ensure that the victim's status is well ensured. So help him to get clean before you transfer them to the hospital. And then, of course, most of the time they lose consciousness.
Yes.
So simply explain to them that this and this happened. I want to transfer to the hospital.
To hospital.
And in most instances, people with epilepsy, they know that they have that condition.
Yes.
So try to take some bit of history. Probably they could be having the medications, or this victim might be, sometimes he has not taken food for quite a long period of time. Sometimes lack of glucose in the body can cause these fits.
Okay.
So
there are those who will argue and say, I don't need to go to hospital. Is it a must for them to go to hospital?
Yeah, simply explain to them that they need to go to the hospital unless they have a rational reason why they don't want to go to the hospital.
This has happened to me for the last 10 years.
Yeah, then most of the epileptics, because they have the condition for quite a long period of time, they know how to manage it. So simply when it has erupted and they are unable to manage it, then there is need for a consultant review to get to see what is happening.
I get you. And sorry, I'll take you back to nose bleeding.
Okay.
I know we said you pinch the bridge of your nose and, with legs apart and
you
lean forward.
Yeah.
Why don't we lean up? What's the danger of leaning up?
The blood is likely to go back. And where does it go back to? It goes to the windpipe. So there is a high risk that this person is going to aspirate or try to swallow the blood. And this blood is going to go to the trachea, then it can cause another risk, which is choking.
Yeah, okay,
so
we'll get to that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
There's someone who sent in a question and says, what does one do to an elderly person when they suddenly run short of breath?
Okay. So when somebody runs out of breath, basically it means the air within the body system is not enough. So the easiest thing to do first is to ensure that they have an open airway. Open airway, you're going to do a very simple maneuver, which is what we call head tilt, chin lift. You try to squeeze with it, because most of the time you find them like in this. So you want to tilt lift the chin and then tilt the head,
yes,
so that they can be able to breathe. And then when you are doing that, you want to look at the chest to see if the victim is breathing. If the chest is not rising or falling, or sometimes when you check, there is no, even the noses, there is no what we call the nasal nares, they are not moving up and out and in, it means the victim is not breathing. Then in this case, you want to give what we call artificial breaths.
Okay.
So you'll approach the victim, but as you're approaching the victim, you need that you're well protected. You get a clean piece of cloth, or what we call a face mask, then cover yourself, then you're going to give him the breath of life.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so let's come to choking, which is another mishap that takes place, you know, at home or at work. How do we go administering first aid to someone who's choking? And are there different ways? And I guess that should be the first question. Are there different ways to handle different age brackets?
Yeah, when choking takes place, it's basically presence of a foreign body in the airway. So this one can be caused when saliva spills into the trachea, when somebody was taking in food, then food goes into the trachea, or sometimes when somebody was vomiting, these vomiters regurgitates back into the trachea. So all these ones can cause the choking.
Okay.
So the first thing we want to do is to really identify if the victim is choking. So you just need to get near to the victim, ask him if he's choking, and of course there are some of the characteristic signs which can tell you that a victim is choking. One of it is that this victim eyes will be popping out, or will be clutching his neck, which we call a universal choking sign. And for young infants, most of the time they don't know this universal choking. So basically what we expect is that if the child was talking or he was playing around, all of a sudden he stops talking.
Yes.
Yeah, then he keeps still.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we can now pick up our
Yeah,
babies
we
and
can,
we see.
pick
So you
up.
can let's head over there.
All right. So I'm going to start with the adult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me
So
hold
for
the
the
baby.
for the adult, the first thing is that you expect that most of the time
We can actually call on
Yeah,
Bese because
yeah,
he's
we
an
can.
adult,
yeah.
and we can see what it's about. Let's move this side because there's no light.
All right.
There, here.
Okay.
So Bese
So
just needs to
probably this guy was feeding on something,
Yes.
and all of a sudden he chokes.
come. Yes.
So the first thing I want to determine if he's choking. Hello, hello, are you choking? Then he's unable to talk. I can see him trying to crouch the neck. So what I want to do, I want to encourage him to cough, because now the object is in the throat,
Okay.
in the airway. I want
Okay.
him to cough. Try to cough. Try to cough. Then all of a sudden, this cough might become ineffective. It means the object is not coming out. So what I want to do, I want to help him to expel the object. So immediately I'll get behind him. Then I want to stand in a position in which I'm going to ensure that I'm safe and also the victim is safe. So I'm going to have one of my legs in between his
Okay.
and in this position.
So turn this way, yes.
Okay.
Or this other way around.
This other
Robert,
way.
is that okay? We face this side. Okay.
All
All
right.
right. Okay.
All right.
No, Bese,
Uh-huh.
face me. Yes.
All right.
Uh-huh.
So in this position, in case the victim falls, I'll be able to
Hold
hold
him back.
like.
Okay.
But in case I was like this, we're likely to fall the two of us. So then the next thing I want to fold my fist like this. We call it usually the female is fist. Then I want to identify where the navel is, just
Yes.
above the navel.
Yes.
I'm going to support myself. Then I
Yes.
tell him to lean forward, lean forward. Then I'm going to do what we call abdominal thrusts.
Yes.
Going in and out, in and out. Then as I'm doing this, most likely the victim could have closed his mouth.
Yes.
So to ensure that his mouth is open, I'm going to ask him his name. What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? So when I try this and the object has not come out, probably the victim could have become unconscious. So I help the victim to the ground, slowly, like this. Then immediately I position the airway. I'll position the airway to ensure that he's safe. Then I'm going to do what we call chest compressions.
Okay.
So these chest compressions are going to help the object
Yes.
come out. So
Come
I'm
out.
going to do 30 chest compressions.
30.
30. 1 to up to 30. Then try to open his airway. See if I can be able to see the object. If I can be able to see the object, I'll simply remove it with my small
Your small finger.
finger.
Yes.
And then if I can't be able to see the object, I'm going to do what we call attempted rescue breaths. So I'm going to use my face mask.
Which is this?
Yeah. Got one. Then I'll press it on the victim's mouth, and then I pinch the nose and then try to breathe on the victim. So I'll deeply kiss the victim, then take in a deep breath, then try to breathe.
If I don't have a face mask, sorry, can I
Okay.
just
Use
go ahead? What do I
a
use?
clean piece of cloth. But if you trust the victim,
I can go ahead.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
All right then. There's something I see people do, which is the patting of the back, hitting of the back to get the food
Eating
out.
of the back,
You know,
basically
here.
we can do it on an infant.
On an infant.
Yeah, but for an adult, because usually they have a very big muscle mass, even if you do it, it's like you're hitting a pipe. So there's a high likelihood that this object is going to go down.
Go back down.
Yeah.
Okay.
So before we move out of the adult, there's another thing I want to demonstrate.
Thank you. Yes.
In case somebody is pregnant, we have a pregnant woman,
Oh yes.
or somebody with a public opinion. In this case, I'm talking of obese. So I'm going to do it on the abdomen.
Okay.
I'll do it on the chest. I'll identify the center of the chest and do it here. All right? So I'm going to do what we call chest thrusts.
Okay.
So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Then check if the object is out. And of course, I need to time.
Yes.
While doing
That's what I was
this,
going to ask you. Yes.
I want to ask him, what's your name?
That's
What's your name? What's your name?
So how many of those are you supposed to do for you to know it is not?
You do 5, then you want to review. If the object has not come out, then you keep on repeating. The
Okay.
victim becomes unconscious, place him on the ground, then have somebody call for help.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right then. Let's now have
So
a
that
look.
is for the
Adult.
adult.
Yes.
Now for the child, I'm going to get to the child's height. I can either place lay the child on a seat,
Okay.
or I can kneel. And then for this case, I'm going to use one hand. I'm not going to use 2 hands like I was doing. So, so assuming Ombese is a child,
Yes.
so I'll get to his height. Baby, are you choking? So then he can't be able to talk. So I'm going to use one hand.
Or just one hand.
Yeah, kindly be still. I'm going to assist you. So I'm going to use one hand. Why? Because there isn't a lot of muscle mass
Yes.
in children compared to adults.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going
And this you apply to what's the age bracket?
when you talk of a child in emergency setups, is somebody who is above 1 year up to 13 years when they turn to a teen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's so you just do the chest
Chest
thrusts.
Yeah. Sorry, abdominal thrust.
Abdominal thrust.
Using one hand.
One hand,
Yes.
not 2 hands.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the danger of 2 hands?
2 hands, it means you're going to apply a lot of pressure. So when you do this, you're likely to injure the internal organs. Yeah. And you know, in first aid, one of the principles is that you want to avoid further injury.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And of
Now,
course, there's this
for
one
the infant, most of the
that of late has become very common.
it's very common because our infants, we buy them play objects.
Yes.
They want to feed on food,
Yes.
and we want to feed them very fast, so we end up putting a lot of food in the mouth
You want
without
to finish. You want to finish.
putting into consideration how much the child, the infant can be able
Can
to swallow.
take. Yeah.
So this is an infant. An infant is a child who is less than 1 year.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
So for this case, if the child is choking, I want to hold the child in this way,
Face forward.
face forward, while supporting the chin.
Okay.
Yeah, while supporting the chin. Then the head should lean down. Then I'm going to give what we call back slaps, a set of 5. So I want to check on the shoulder blade, this and this. Then I'm going to give one with some force.
With some force.
Yeah, you don't need to be gentle, because if you don't do it very fast, this child is likely to succumb. So I'm going to do 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I put my hand here, then turn this direction. The first thing I want to do is to check if the object is in mouth. If I can be able to see it and it's at the my mouth, I can remove it. But if it's deep down, I don't want to remove it, because if I try to attempt to remove it, there's a high likelihood that it's going to dislodge.
Yes.
So then the next thing I want to do is chest thrusts. So for infant, we don't do abdominal thrust. We do the chest thrust, 5 of them. Identify the 2 navels. Then with my 2 fingers, I'm going to do 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check if I can be able to see the object. If I can't be able to see it, then I'm going to repeat the process. If a child is maybe a light one, I can be doing this as I'm transferring the child to the hospital. But if it's a big child, maybe 10 GB, 20 GB, I want to do it here on my knee, while supporting the knee and also supporting the chin. 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn. See if the object is out. If it's not yet out, then I'm going to repeat again.
Let me ask you, so for how long, let's say we've been doing this for about 5-7 minutes and we're not seeing the object. What happens next?
You keep on repeating,
You just keep
as,
on
as you
repeating.
are calling for help.
As you're calling for help, as you're going to hospital.
Yeah, and if the child becomes unconscious, probably the circulation system has gone low, the breathing system has gone low. So this is when now you place the child on a flat place
Surface.
and then start the chest compressions. So chest compressions, I'm going to identify the space between the two nipples, and then I'm going to use my 2 fingers or 1 finger. So while supporting the head, because usually the infants have a big head compared to the size of the body.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to do 30 of them, 1, 2, up to 30, and then check if the object is in the mouth. If it's not in the mouth, I'm going to give the 2 attempted rescue breaths. I'm calling them attempted because I'm not sure whether they'll get in.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to give the 2 rescue breaths. Of course, with my face mask, I do them, then I repeat this as
Okay.
I'm calling for help.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, all right. You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And what are there any tips you can tell us as we're coming to the end? Any first aid tips, basic tips?
When you talk of first aid, the first thing you want to do is that ensure you are safe before you want to approach the victim. Because there's a high likelihood you want to assist this victim and you also end up becoming the victim.
The victim.
The other thing, you need to know the emergency numbers. Most of the instances, we want to call our next of kin.
Yes.
If it's the house girl, she wants to call the mother of the home or the father. Unfortunately, the mother might be in the meeting and they
Yes.
ignore.
Yes.
If it's towards the end of the month, they might be thinking that they're asking for their dues.
Yes.
So they ignore them. So the best thing is you need to know the emergency numbers, especially for the emergency medical services. They can give you information online as you want to assist. Then when you're giving first aid, be confident, don't shy away from giving it. Because most of people shy away from giving it because basically because of litigation. Assist, then nobody is going to sue you. Because first aid is the first help you give to a victim before they go to a medical qualified person. And that first aid saves a lot.
Sorry,
All right.
continue.
So then there's what we call the triangle of life. When you talk of the triangle of life, there are 3 aspects. We have the airway, we have the lungs, the heart, and the brain. So what we want to do is the interventions which are going to make the brain to be viable, as in to function. The brain will usually die after 4 minutes if it lacks oxygen. So there are those simple maneuvers you can do. One of it is simply opening the airway. Head tilt, chin lift, like this. It can help a lot. Then this one, chest compressions. These are some of the things you can do. You cannot resuscitate the brain, but you can help the heart to pump. So the only way you can help the heart to pump is by doing the chest compression. And the way you can help somebody to breathe is by opening his airway, then giving the breaths.
There's something you brought up, the issue of litigation, and I want to connect it in when it comes to accidents, road accidents.
Okay.
You know, let's say a car's overturned, and your first instinct is to pull the person out, but then there's also the risk of you injuring the
Yes, sir.
person
All right.
further.
Okay.
You know, back problems and stuff. So what is the correct procedure when you come across an accident, a road accident?
In a road accident, the first thing you want to do is to ensure that you are safe. So if there's traffic, have somebody control the traffic. Then from there, probably you might be having a set of gloves like this. So you want to put
Always have gloves in your car.
always have gloves.
Always have gloves.
If you don't have gloves, you can use polythene bags.
Yes.
Yes, they can also offer some protection. Then you want to approach the victim. The first thing you want to do is to see if the victim is responsive or unresponsive. So you want to get next to the victim, and if somebody is alert, you'll be able to see you. If he's not alert, try to shout. If he cannot be able to hear you, then the next thing you want to do is try to tap him by the shoulders. Hello, hello, can you hear me? If he's not responding, still doesn't mean that the victim is he's dead.
Yes.
He could be unconscious. So the next thing you want to do is you want to inflict some pain.
Okay.
Yeah. So you do what we call a chest wrap. You can do your knuckles like this. Then you want to wrap him at the center of his chest, round, to see if he's responding. If you can't do that, then you can squeeze these muscles. Yeah, you squeeze them deeply. Then if he's not responding, the next thing you want to do is to ensure that the airway is open.
It's open.
So in a trauma case, most likely they have injured their neck. So you want to avoid those unnecessary maneuvers which can end up injuring the victim farther. So this is the case when you're going to do what we call a jaw thrust. So I'm going to demonstrate it on this mannequin.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to assist this victim to open his airway while ensuring that I'm not tilting the neck awkwardly. So I place my hands here.
On the cheekbones?
On the cheekbones. Then my 2 other fingers on the angle of the mandible. The angle of the mandible is this. So I'm going to push it forward while pulling this one backward. So I do like this, then like this. If you can be able to see, the mandible is moving forward.
Yes.
And as it's moving forward, it's also moving forward with the tongue. So creating a space for air to go in. And then as I'm doing this, I want to hold the neck while in this position. So when I'm in this position, I'm trying to avoid any unnecessary movements. This one can help a lot. And then this victim, if you suspect that they might be having injury at the spine, you want to transport them in a way so that you want to avoid unnecessary movement.
Yes.
So if possible, get a spine board, place them there. If you don't have a spine board, get a vehicle with a flat surface. Place them there while lying flat.
So let's say I'm trapped under a car.
Okay.
So how do you get me out of the car?
Usually when somebody is trapped, the first thing they want to do is what we call extrication.
What's that?
There are special appliances which the police and the fire department have. They come and they cut the parts of the vehicle.
Yes.
And then they can get you off. But the first thing the first responder should be able to do is to ensure that the airway is what? Is free. So as they are doing the extrication, we are ensuring that this victim is breathing.
Yes.
And so we are delaying the victim from dying very fast.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Then of course, with the bleeding, you need to apply direct pressure.
Yes.
If there is presence of fractures, you want to splint them or immobilize the long limbs.
Yes.
To prevent unnecessary movement.
Damage. Okay. All right. That's one thing we've learned. Never pull a body out of.
Don't just pull it. The first thing, stabilize the neck.
Stabilize the neck. Yes. Try and see. Okay. Do you have any emergency contacts offhand?
Yeah, we have the emergency contacts. Like for Kenya Red Cross Ambulance Services, you can use 0700 395 395.
Oh, 0700
395 395. It's very easy to grasp. Yeah. Or you can use a toll-free number 1199.
1199. 0700
395
395 395.
Yes. 119 1199, or you can use 0738 395 395.
Okay, so there
that is for Kenya Red Cross, but we have other emergency providers.
Yes.
So you need to have the numbers
somewhere.
In case of an emergency, have them even at home, give them to the nannies, the house girls.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, have them circulated.
Yeah, have them circulated.
All right, Dennis, thank you so much for coming this morning. Really appreciate. We've learned something new. It was a refresher course, I think, I want to believe. Thank you so much for that, and I hope we'll have you in studio another day for another lesson. Thank you. Let's head over to the other studio for some entertainment before we wind up the show.